Hello, fourth and fifth graders. This is Mrs. Hawes. We are going to start reading the rest of our book, Ruby Holler. So in our book so far, the twins are with Tiller and Sari, and they're getting ready for their trips. And something's going on at the orphanage where they came from with the other people. And they're not being super nice. And we've already know that they have an understone fund, which is where they hide their money. Tiller and Sari hide their money. So the twins, Florida and Dallas, they decided to hide their money too. So that's kind of where we're at, is them getting ready for the trip and all that stuff. So we're on to Tiller and Sari, who are the two people that are in Ruby Holler taking care of Florida and Dallas and getting ready for their trips. Tiller's eyes were tightly closed, but he wasn't yet asleep. He was willing himself to dream about his trip to the Rutabaga River. He could do that sometimes, make himself dream about certain things. Usually he tried to do it when he had a problem, in hopes that the dream would help him sort it out. The first time he'd done it was when their second child, Lucy, was a toddler. Lucy went through a terrible sick spell, listless and pale for weeks on end. The doctor ran tests, so many punctures in the girl's little arms, so many tubes hooked here and there. When the tests were finally finished, Tiller and Sari took Lucy home to await the results. As they were leaving the hospital, Tiller said, "But she won't eat anything except popsicles, orange popsicles. What shall we feed her?" "Let her eat popsicles," said the doctor. "No harm in that." That night, Tiller made himself dream about Lucy so he could figure out what was wrong with her. In his dream, Lucy was lying on a cot holding a dripping orange popsicle. The orange drips turned red like blood and made terrible sizzling noises when they touched her skin. "Ow, Daddy, the popsicle hurts," Lucy told Tiller in his dream. When Tiller awoke the next morning, he threw away all the orange popsicles. Then he filled a pot with well water and began tossing in the ingredients for getting better soup. Making up the recipe as he went along, Tiller told Lucy that all the popsicles had disappeared in the night, but in their place, an angel had brought Lucy soup only for Lucy, not for Buddy or Tiller or Sari. Lucy took a tentative sip, then another and another. When she finished the first bowl, she asked for a second helping. By the evening, she was chasing Buddy out on the porch. By the next morning, she was racing to the creek, her cheeks pink, her little arms flapping beside her like wings. When Tiller returned alone to the doctor's office the following week, the doctor apologized. "The tests were inconclusive," he said. "We'll need to do more tests." "No, you won't," said Tiller. "It was popsicles, orange popsicles. She must be allergic to them." The doctor was scornful. "I don't think that's it." "Trust me," said Tiller, "they were the orange popsicles." Now, as he lay in bed in the cabin thinking about his trip to the mighty Rutabaga River, he again asked his mind to dream. This time he hoped the dream would tell him whether he should take the trip or not. He was feeling anxious about leaving Sari and nervous about being responsible for Florida. Would he have enough patience for her? Beside him, Sari was still awake, and she too was fretting over her upcoming trip. For so long she had dreamed of taking a trip by herself with Tiller. She had been with him nearly all of her life, and she wanted to see if they were different when she was alone. Would she think different things, do different things? Who was she all by herself? She drifted off to sleep, but when Tiller's snoring woke her, she got up, went to the living room, and opened the trunk in the corner. In it were bits and pieces of her past. On top, there was a grown woman's wedding photos, and beneath those, drawings of when her children were young. The further down she went, she found a photo of herself when she was 19, standing in front of a cafe in New York City. Sari pictured herself when she was young, and her long, dark, smooth skin, her long, dark hair and her smooth skin. She had gone to New York to attend college, so excited, so eager for all the sounds and smells of that busy city. Have any of you guys been to New York? Super cool. She'd been there for 2 weeks when Tiller appeared at her door. "I decided to come too," he said. "I missed you." "You can't," she told him. "Go home." "Home," he said. "I want to be here with you. I'm going to get a job and—" "Not here, you aren't," said Sari. "Go home." She closed the door on him and stood there, angry at first, and then mortified at what she had done. He had looked so stunned standing there. A week later, a postcard came from Ruby Holler. On it, Tiller had written, "The maples are blazing rubies." The next week, another postcard. "The maples have turned gold, and the willow leaves float along the creek." On Tiller's On Tiller went like that, sending a postcard every week for 6 months, each with a note about what was happening at Ruby Holler, how the first snow sifted down, how an ice storm left millions of diamonds dazzling in the trees, hundreds of little sentences about the place that she had left, and nothing about himself. By spring, Sari had grown increasingly agitated by the loud noises of the city, with the screeching trucks and the blaring horns and the pounding jackhammers, and the smells of the city, which at first had delighted her, had begun to assault her. Sausages and donuts, tar and urine, gasoline and sewage. When she received Tiller's postcard about the first purple coccyruses springing up beside the creek and the new leaves dangling like emeralds, she packed her bags and moved back to Ruby Holler. And there in the trunk in the cabin, beneath a picture of Sari in New York City, was a photo of Tiller and Sari on their wedding day. She looked at it closely, at Tiller's smooth skin, that tall, straight back, and that engaging grin. She stared at her younger self. "Who are you inside there?" she asked Sari in the photo. Sari closed the trunk. Maybe these trips they were planning were foolish. She crossed the room to the loft ladder, listening. Aside from Tiller's occasional snores, it was awfully quiet in the cabin tonight. So you guys remember that the twins were trying to get ready to go. They were leaving on the train, but we don't know where the train's going, and we don't know what they're going to do or if they've actually left, because the last chapter we read, they were getting ready to, but they hadn't yet. So we're going to stop there, and next week we'll read The Holler at Night. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe. I will see you next week. Happy reading!